Allow me to join in congratulating all the stakeholders in what can only be described as a grand success and transformative. But today is a celebration of partnership, local and international partnership. And I wish for us to put our hands together for this partnership. I want to also add and remind Vic that there are powerful women behind the success of these families. I can assure you it takes a lot to keep Eddie Boyer and Mr. Alfonso Sr. stable. And they have been kept stable for a very long time. You know, there are a few questions that we must ask ourselves in this stage of development of our country. Questions that are key and critical to our future. Questions that will separate the talkers from the doers. Questions that will separate the pessimists from the optimists. And questions that will answer who occupy the space of policy making in the lens of history. What is development? One recent statement by President Trump is that this is the golden era of the United States. And one may ask a very simple question. One of the most powerful global leaders, if not the most powerful, and one of the most powerful country and economy, decided to establish this era as the golden era. The ordinary would look back and say that they've already passed through many golden periods. But that's the simplistic thinkers. But that statement was not laid and left to ripen itself. It was made, and there are a few aspects of leadership that follows. Tenacity and boldness. The world today is moving in a direction and at a pace that requires leadership that is bold, leadership that is exciting, leadership that generates ideas, leadership that is value-based, and leadership that is responsible. It does not require spur-of-the-moment excitement that would allow someone to belch out a figure that you can put the tax rate at $400,000 per month. That is the level of irresponsibility that will take us back to a deadly period in the history of our country between 1970 and 80s, when our debt burden went from 230 plus million Guyana dollars to $2.5 billion. And it was debt incurred to carry recurrent expenditure. It was debt incurred to carry wages and salaries, not to grow the economy, not to expand the economy, not to create employment, not to generate wealth. There is a philosophical difference in the two types of policy making. replace us or leave us is an important question. History of this country places us in a particular mold and mode. But where would this history leave us? Would it leave us right where we are today? Would it leave us as part of the problem? Would it leave us as a generation that was static in our approach to national development? Would it leave us boxed in the economic framework that we are in today? Or would it take us to a place in which we'll all be placed that is sustainable, prosperous, and broad in terms of our economic pillars and economic scope? So I want the private sector, policymakers, to ask ourselves this question: where history placed us today, and where will it leave us? Where should development take us? Or where would development meet us? Very important question. Where should the development path of our country take us? Should it take us confined by 900,000 people, locked into a border that is defined by our geographic space? Or should the development take us into a marketplace that is millions? Or should it open up opportunity that goes beyond our boundaries and borders? Where should the development take us? And whilst we are answering these questions, there are others who are also asking the same question. There is a concept in business called early movers. And you have the early movers advantage. If we remain static in our development path and the way in which we structure our development, we will be late movers and will pay the price for late movement. The development that we must and should focus on is one that creates sustainability, one that generates economic expansion, one that generates new jobs, one that stimulates wealth, one in which investment and growth goes hand in hand. And if you look at this facility today, we're not just celebrating the completion of physical infrastructure. We're celebrating the hard work of the more than 400 men and women who worked on the site during construction. We're celebrating the more than 250 persons in the initial phase that will work here permanently. 250 families that will find sustainable jobs here. We're celebrating the policies and the initiative that would have enable us as a country to bring back more than 80% of the semi-technical and low-level technical jobs that were held outside of our country, here in Guyana. More than 80% of those value creation jobs are now held in country because of policies, because of boldness in approach, because of a clear vision, and because of confidence of the private sector. Let us not underestimate this journey that we are here on. Lest we forget, between the period 2015 and 2020, one of the first documents that was sent to my desk from the private sector was a document that outlined investments of more than $150 million left idle, waiting in a file for approval. Within 30 days, we unlocked that investment. And on this Demerara River alone, in the last 4 years, we are seeing investment of more than $700 million US. $700 million US that was locked away in a policymaker desk, in a policymaker drawer. Locked away by incompetence, lack of clarity, a misalignment of the country vision and as to what needs to be done. Locked away by incompetence. Just by ensuring that government work and ensuring that government carries out the responsibility that is entrusted on it, on governments itself, we were able to unlock more than $700 million US of investment in Demerara. And this is just the beginning. Because our approach to energy in this region must be to secure and cement ourselves as a major mover and shaker in the energy market within the region that we live in. It will be a complete non-alignment of our energy strategy if our intention is not to position Guyana strategically in the energy mix of this region. And to do that, we need Exxon and the partners. And we need all the other international partners. We need to work on a project that is beyond the scale of Guyana. We need to work on a project that's beyond the scale of Guyana. A project that is the scale of the region. That is what is going to create new energy in the economy. That is what is going to create new wealth. That is what is going to create new excitement. Unless we understand that the future we are building has to be in a scale that we have never seen before. Our playground cannot be the market that exists here alone. And whilst we expand our playground to the region, we have to ensure that the strategies are aligned and clear through which we can have 3 million people passing through this economy by 2030 and beyond. We have to do it. We have to find a formula. And that is why the infrastructure is key and critical. We have the lowest crime rate in the last 10 years, the lowest murder rate, the highest crime detention rate, the lowest serious crime report rate in the last 10 years. We don't celebrate it. But it did not happen by accident. It happened by clarity of vision, clarity of policy, investment in technology, and investment in our human capital. And those investments are necessary if we are to achieve the 3 million people coming through the economy. We have to build a tourism sector that is second to none. And we have to change. From the parents, the children, we have to change our philosophy too. Yeah, it might be great seeing your child leaving home in the morning with a tie and going to work as a clerk behind the desk at the bank and earn $170,000 per month. But your child can also do 6 weeks of training as an operator and earn $600,000 per month. But it requires a philosophy and an ideology I listened to some of the comments in Parliament. I don't call it debate because some of it lack anything that is close to debate. Comments that seek to reduce the value of persons who are coming up in the hospitality and tourism sector. We have to understand what are the requirements of this country moving forward. I see people asking questions about the investment in infrastructure. It's an infrastructure budget. Well, if you don't have infrastructure, you have to build it. Because development follows infrastructure. If we don't have that 4-lane bridge completed, all this investment on the side of the river can hardly be optimized. And let me make it simple. Let me give you a simple calculation. You have about 20,000 vehicles crossing the Demerara Bridge every year. And Timothy Tucker will tell you that you lose at least 3 hours every day in productive time waiting in the traffic. But let's say we just use 1 hour. That going and coming over the bridge, you lose 1 hour of productive time. And you have 4 persons in a vehicle. That's 80,000 hours every day of productivity we're losing waiting in traffic. And if you use an 8-hour day, that is 10,000 man days we are losing just waiting in a traffic because of inadequate infrastructure and inadequate bridge. And let me tell you something about borrowing, because this is another thing I see. But what is it we are borrowing for? The $500 million US dollars on the gas to energy project is not coming for recurrent expenditure. It is not going towards public service wage bill. It is going towards improving the competitiveness of our country. It is going to an investment that will enable us to bring jobs in Guyana, to develop a first-world industrial, manufacturing, agro-processing sector in this country. It is going to reducing the cost of electricity by half. It is going towards putting more disposable income in the pockets of families. It is going towards poverty reduction. It is going towards economic expansion and job creation. The loan that will go towards the building of the bridge. I give you one example of the type of benefit that it will bring. We have to understand the direction in which we want Guyana to go. The vision, a clear understanding as to where the opportunities are. And when you look at where the opportunities are, it's interesting. Let me give you, for example, according to Comtrade, Guyana imported $204 million US dollars from Brazil in 2023. And we exported about $73 million US dollars. In 2023, Guyana was a top export destination for the state of Vreed-en-Hoop. Listen to this. We were a top export destination for the state of Vreed-en-Hoop in 2023. We have fresh water. We have fertile land. We have access to the Atlantic. We will now have the cheapest energy costs. And we're investing in the most skilled labor force. Just imagine if we convert that import, much of which is value-created goods into exports. But what does this require? It requires a government that will fight on creating the enabling environment. A government that will fight on creating the trade opportunity. And then a private sector that must fight alongside the policymaker. A private sector that is willing to go to the state of Roraima and say, Guyana will now be your in-transit hub. Let us discuss with you now the migration of industries, whether agro-processing, manufacturing, or industrial industries. Let us discuss the migration of those industries into a market that gives you direct access to the Atlantic and, of course, the market of CARICOM and beyond. We have to be able to create these opportunities for ourselves. The second gas project in Berbice and the deepwater port. In the next term, it is not whether it will happen. It must happen. Because these are key investments for the structural transformation of our country. These are key investments for the value creation that is necessary to generate, first of all, to build, generate, and keep sustainable jobs. It's easy. First of all, you have the job to convince 14 investors to build 14 hotels. Then it's easy and exciting to say we have 14 hotels under construction. But it's also difficult to go to bed knowing that you have to generate enough traffic and ensure that the policy-making matrix work to make those hotels viable. That's the difference between someone who can go to bed complaining and someone who go to bed knowing that it has to be fixed and we have to find a winning formula. Success is at our doorstep, but we must source for the winning formula. And the winning formula, most times, is never going it alone. We must embrace the challenges that are ahead of us. In this region, the future is beyond exciting. When you look at the infrastructure that will connect Region 4 with Region 3, going all the way to Bartica Region 7, the Sandhills Road, and already we have completely laid out the Sandhill Road alignment. Then we have the old important project that lacked the investment to make it possible. The Del Conte alignment that will open up tens of thousands of new acreage of arable farmlands. That would open up the tourism sector. These are the things that we have to start thinking about. These are the things and the areas in which the fuel of the future will be based on. The concept of growing wealth requires innovators. It requires critical thinkers. It requires risk-taking. It requires building partnership. It requires the creation of markets. It requires positioning of country, positioning of policies, positioning of wealth. And it requires building prosperity block by block. Many Guyanese sit and complain about other nationalities that soaked up the opportunities in the region. They were able to do so because their countries were positioned in a particular time in history to allow them to do so. And they took advantage of the country positioning. They didn't sleep on the opportunity. They bought up all the franchise that you could have think of. All the franchise you can think of, they bought it up. They invested in distribution chains. They moved from sole trading to corporations. They built consortiums. And they established themselves firmly throughout the region because they never saw their market confined by the boundaries of their country. What are we doing? How are we leveraging? How are we going to leverage? How are we going to make use of this opportunity? This is not just about the shore base today. I'll be very disappointed if we look at this as this is a shore base. This is that one additional asset that allows us to build one of the best marine industry and marine sector in the region. This is that one additional asset that positions us to build a transport and logistics hub and link that is key and critical and brings a new opportunity with it. This is a means to the end and not the end by itself. And when you look at the impact of policy making and the impact of investment and the impact of infrastructure and how it translates into personal and community wealth, just look at the lands along the New Schoonard Highway and tell me how much was those lands 4 years ago per acre and how much is it today. And yet, you'll have people who will say, what infrastructure can do? A new hospital in West Demerara will commence soon. $50 million, state of the art. That is what the investment is going to do. World-class education, world-class healthcare. And let me tell you, in terms of rate of improvement, and I say this without a shadow of a doubt, there is no public healthcare institution in this region, in the Caribbean and Latin America, that has improved at the pace at which Georgetown Hospital has improved. And I can give you the stats. I can give you the stats to back it up. Look at our infant mortality rate. Look at the number of beds to 10,000 population. The number of nurses and doctors to 10,000 population. Among the best in the region. This didn't happen by accident. Not guesswork. It's careful planning and powerful execution. careful planning and powerful execution. We don't jump on a stage every day and speak about these things. But I see from front row the type of changes that is taking place. I challenge anyone who did not go on the East Bank or East Coast for the last 3 years to go at the back there and tell me what they think. Go and look, go and see for yourselves the value that is being created, the economic opportunities that are being accelerated. You will see for yourselves the offshoot, the results of some policy making. And I agree that if not immediately the refinery, it must be something that gives us energy dominance for the region. It must be an investment that allows us to convert our crude into benefit for our population and into positioning for our country. We can't have 1 million barrel crude and we don't have the positioning power within the region. We are learning, you learn from the best. Positioning power helps you in trade negotiation. Positioning power helps you in trade negotiation. We can complain all our life about the unequal trade platform that exists within the region. It was all about positioning power. We're humble about it, but we're not shy about it. We must understand the moment of history that we're in. And we must utilize this moment of history to define what the future history of our country would be. And it's not about oil and gas. It's about leveraging oil and gas, leveraging the revenue from oil and gas in building a world-class, diversified, sustainable economy. And you have some of these policymakers, well, I don't know, I'm using the term loosely, who would speak about, oh, how much of the fund are you using? And then bring Norway example immediately with that. I want to ask them to answer a question. Where did the first 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years of Norway natural resource revenue went? Where did it go? Answer that question. Where did the revenue go? It went in building a modern government. It went on building technology. It went on building a world-class labor force. It went on building a world-class healthcare sector, a world-class education, and it went on building a diversified economic platform. That is where it is. My friends, I don't intend to be long today. But we must understand the moment in history that we are in. When I went to the EU, every single thing that we said we would do, we heard the pessimists in our society all doubted us. We said 50,000 jobs, they said we are crazy. Done and dusted. We said 50,000 house starts, mad people, done and dusted. We said the new 4-lane bridge across the Demerara River, it will not happen. It will be done and dusted. Last year in the UN, I said that we are going to host in Guyana the first World Biodiversity Summit, and we're going to lead not only on environment and climate, but in biodiversity. And this year, you will see your country taking center stage in global leadership on biodiversity. Because we have to position ourselves, being the leader in environment, biodiversity, the leader on energy in the region, the leader on food security in the region. And we have to build to ensure that Guyana becomes the leading destination for nature and eco-based tourism. We have to. We have to put our heads together. We have to make the investments. We have to build out the hinterland airstrips. We have to further incentivize the private sector in this direction. We have to reach out and bring the best partners in this business to our shores. If we want to win, we have to play with the best. We have to embrace the best. We have to partner with the best. We can't win seeking the second best. We have to win seeking the best. Who are the best in class for us? This journey must also bring our country together. Every single day I see our country coming together in unbelievable ways. Let me tell the older generation something. This new generation of Guyanese are all about one Guyana. If you are stuck in the historical mold of self-complexity, of self-serving interest, you shall be dead in that mold. You shall be dead in that mold. We are ready to embrace the challenges of the future, to apply and adopt the best technology, to build the most skilled labor force in this region, to build an economy that is ecologically, economically, and socially sustainable. And I want to remind debaters in Parliament that AI is a tool. Be careful. AI is a tool to help you. It is not a thinking platform. It is not a management platform. And it is not, definitely not a public policy making platform. It is but a tool. Stop generating AI speeches and regurgitate it. And I asked the Speaker of the National Assembly to save us from those who use this tool as their thinking, as their policy-making platform, and as their management platform. AI is just but a tool. It does not negate the human power to think, to analyze, and to critically evaluate. Let me say also that the country that we are building must be one in which the availability of goods and services is there for every segment of the population. Not only must it be available, but it must be affordable. Not only must it be affordable, but it must be achieved through due process. We have to remove the human element of bias from public service and move to a more conscious system. The human biases in public service must be removed, and that must be supported and be an important pillar of good governance. And we have to practice public policy that is responsible. This is an election year. We could have been very irresponsible and do everything that everybody wants. But we understand what responsible policy making is about. And the private sector must adopt this level of responsibility. You know, if you look at this consortium here, I listened to Michelle and you know, she captured it all. They're looking at all these beautiful local dishes. I think they're managing their budget. Because that man bring all of us for $300 million investment, and here they're going to give me Pulauri and Barra and Guyana. Knowing Edibaya and Alfonso, that combination is deadly. So Michelle, yes, we're gonna enjoy the local stuff, but I know you got good beef and prawns and so over here too, you know. But as I said, the future before us is an exciting one. But it requires critical thinkers. It requires boldness. It requires adjustment in the cultural makeup of the way we do business. As uncomfortable as giving up space may seem, giving up space to expand room is better in the long run. Understand what I just said? Giving up space to expand room in the long term is much more sustainable. We're no longer dreaming of the days when our healthcare system will be the best in the region. Those days are far coming upon us. Soon, we'll launch the Region Forest Digital School, the Guyana Digital School, that will enable 24 hours learning. That would enable children to have targeted learning. Those who are registered in that school, if you do mathematics, for example, in the digital school, the areas of your weaknesses will be identified. And through AI, a program will be developed specifically for your weakness and sent to you for extra lessons. We are applying tomorrow's technology today in our country. It is going to be a learning curve. There are going to be missteps. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be some failures too. But what is failure in the pursuit of success? What is failure in the pursuit of success? It is not failure. It is not failure. Let us embrace the future. Embrace our country's journey. Embrace a country and a future that will be fulfilling for every generation of Guyanese ahead of us. I thank you and God bless you.